guess what it is? It is the 6-month reunion for season 2 of Coach Peggy Real Time. And just like you've seen in season 1 and season 2, we are real people with a lot of real problems and some real solutions. And we are going to get you caught up. This is again season 2, and it's been 6 months since they started the program, which this is a transformational docuseries. And what does that mean? That means that the cast members, we all came together, you guys, in June. You were very transparent and authentic with your health, wellness, well-being journey. You looked at we learned some tools and strategies along the way. We had some challenges and we had some fun experiments, and some things resonated and some things didn't at the time. And something might resonate in a year. Hi, Faith.
Hi.
Hi, Catwoman. Hi, Rita.
Hello.
Hi. I want to address something just out of the gate it's going to be a very interesting subject. So as you guys can see, Troy is not with us tonight, our Rocky. If you guys have seen any of the shows, we have inner beasts. I work with inner beasts. And what are inner beasts? Those are the things that we draw up, those personality traits that maybe have a little dust on them, or they're a part of our personality where we need a little bit of confidence or positivity. And so we create these kind of inner beasts. And Troy, we called Rocky. And I'm leading into this, and I'll talk with the girls in a second about their inner beasts. But Troy was our Rocky. And when he picked Rocky, it was a lot about, climbing those stairs of success, having all sorts of tribulations and trials and obstacles, but he was going to just fight the force and get through the other side. And these journeys, like everybody's health and wellness journey, they're not perfect. They're not scripted. You're going to fall off the wellness wagon. And I'm here to tell you, I don't know what to tell you where Troy is. I don't know what to tell you with his success level right now, or if he's struggling. I don't know how to share your story up to this point on how he's doing. So I'm going to speculate, because that's what I have to do. And I've done this for 30 years, and I owe you as our viewers, listeners, and my cast members, Faith and Rita, and a responsibility to myself to be open and honest and transparent. So I'm going to preface this with saying, I don't know what I don't know. I'm going to tell you what I think I know. In most cases, when this happens and someone ghosts me as a coach, and what I mean by ghosting is no text response, no email response, no turn-in for any post data, no responses on our closed Facebook. We have a private Facebook site. For a period of time, I always go back and go, oh my gosh, are they injured? Are they sick? Are they intubated? Is something serious happen? But I also watch the little rabbit trail. I watch the little cookie crumbs along the way, such as an example of somebody seeing a post. I usually watch that over a time period to see if they have actually seen it. They've opened my email. They've opened my text. So I'm going to speculate that Troy is struggling a bit. So to be positive and to love on him, because that's what I do, and to not judge anybody, I'm going to speculate that he may have some trials and tribulations right now where he may feel overwhelmed. He may be nervous to show up today and not know what to report, and feel like, you know what, I might be a shit show. He may also be somebody who is struggling with something this time of year with seasonal affect disorder. I'm going to leave it all at this, but I just want you guys to know that he's not in the show tonight. The show must go on. I love him to death. I hope he reaches out. Any of you guys who follow him, reach out to him, and I guarantee he is more like you than not, that he just got nervous and felt like he might let us down. Faith, I'd like to reach out to you and ask you what your thoughts are just on this journey we've had together, and maybe where our buddy Rocky Balboa is. What are your thoughts? Putting you on the spot.
I think possibly he is struggling. I know sort of from my experience, when I felt overwhelmed, it's really easy just to take that step back and disengage from everyone and everything, and almost put your head in the sand, and sort of not reach out when it's actually you need to do the opposite. So I hope he does reach out to somebody.
Exactly. Exactly. What are your thoughts, Rita?
I try and give him the benefit of the doubt just because like he had mentioned how he was going to be working on doing his resume and trying to find a new job in a different state by the new year. So again, like we're all thinking, he's probably highly overwhelmed and been seriously giving that 110% working on that goal for that move. So he probably kind of everything maybe have felt wayside to and I can say on my part, I mean, I haven't been on social media a whole lot. For me, it's just like you see the same gloom and doom. It's like, I can't handle that kind of stuff. It just wears you down. So, but I'm giving you the benefit of the doubt, Rocky. I'm thinking that's maybe
Absolutely.
where you may be.
And I'd like to give even bigger message to any of you guys out there. Accountability is the leader of motivation. Accountability is one of the best ways for you to stay motivated. And what does that mean? The best accountability you could have is hanging out with like-minded people, people who support you. And it doesn't mean that they're always on track either. So if you're part of a support group, if you are part of a project where you decided to do something together, I don't care if it's a book club. You have a responsibility to stay in touch when you start a goal or a project. And I don't care if it's losing 5 pounds or if it is painting your room. You have a responsibility if you commit to other people. So I'm just giving you the message, you guys out there, is that most of the time, it's just you put judgment on yourself. We all love each other. So wherever he is, we love him and we hope to hear from him. No excuses accepted by my ears, as you know. So show up and say, hi, I was a jackass, and I will love you just as much. Because even if you're struggling, you can still respond to me because this was scheduled a long time ago. All right, I'm not angry. I'm coping. I'm feeling my feels and moving on. No, I really do love him. All right, you guys. So as we said, Coach Peggy Real Time is all about real people, real problems, real solutions. We are back together, and I want to ask you guys, let's roll right into Inner Beast. So Faith, you had chosen Catwoman. We had a really good time, didn't we, Rita, when we were picking on Catwoman along the way.
Oh my gosh.
Along the way. And it was such an interesting Inner Beast, and then I want to hear what you have to say, because Catwoman is kind of slinky. Creeps around at night, and she's not really like out there in the front line going, look at me and look what I'm going to do, and these are my goals. And it's so Faith's personality if you look back at that. But nor Faith, first of all, have you pulled up Catwoman as an Inner Beast? Did she evolve? Where are you with her?
She did evolve, and I think sort of the end of the 10 weeks she'd already evolved, because Catwoman is quite insular, is very sort of on her own. She does her own thing without sort of the aid of other people. But I think sort of as I've evolved, it's sort of, you do need that connection with other people, and it's about putting yourself out there more that I've sort of connected with. And yeah, I think I have had to pull on Catwoman sort of during my goals, and but it's in a slightly different way. It's sort of me more that sort of motivation, that push to sort of to start, but then she's not been in charge the whole way through.
Yeah, so kind of aiding on other people instead of being your sole, team in the middle of the night. That makes sense, pulling her up. Hey, Rita, what about you with Wonder Woman? Have you evolved? Have you pulled her strength up? What have you done with your Inner Beast?
I think I lost Wonder Woman for a while there, every now and then, to be honest. But I brought her back. I roped her back in. And honestly, I mean, it has been a struggle. It really has, because one thing I've noticed is how easy it is to kind of fall away. And we had discussed this about, with the winter months and how when it's cold and daylight savings, and, by the time I get home, it's dark. And the first thing I want to do is just put my PJs on and get comfy, sit in front of the TV. And, but in those instances, I mean, I have had to pull her in and like, okay, we got to get control of this. It's that whole mindset thing too. So I have been relying on her a lot more. I've had to count on her to pull me out of this weird little, winter funk that I'm trying desperately not to fall into again. So
Yeah,
she's
you're
still a
both.
work in progress, but I've not given up.
Yeah. Well, and if you think about your inner beast, they always have different projects or instances or events that come up, right? They might solve the day with, if you think about the Marvel series, just really specifically here for a second, I mean, they all have different things that come up, different problems, they solve them and they move on. So it's the same type of thing with your inner beast. You may have an inner beast where you approach feelings differently or big, huge projects differently. The main thing with an inner beast is just to remember that those are typically kind of the emotions or the feelings or the kind of the badass side of you that you just need to pull up when you're not the badass side of you. And we have a hard time thinking about where the heck he or she, where they are when we're struggling, when we just want to ignore the hell out of them, right?
Exactly.
Okay, so let's go through and just share a few of the documents that we used over this season that you've still used or not used, and we can chat about it. I think it's really good as a refresher, and I'm just going to share some of those and we can just chit chat with them. So one of the first things that we obviously did was the wellness wheel, and that is the 4 quadrants of heart, spirit, mind, and body, which we will show that towards the end-ish of the show because we want to compare your pre and post wheels, the ones you filled out in June and kind of where you are now with no judgment. Let's see where we are. The other, pretty much the document that we did next was what I call the All Things Wellness Log. And so you guys can certainly recognize this. And for many people, they might log their foods in MyFitnessPal. They might log their exercise programs in MyFitnessPal or something else, and that's totally fine. I had these guys use this because it is, I think, all inclusive in one spot. So I had suggested to them that every once in a while, maybe every 8 weeks or 6 weeks, pull out these documents, see where you are, track them for a week. What is your weight? What is your hour, your hours you're sleeping? Let's see what you are eating for meals. They learned about their macronutrients, their calories. We kind of figured out where they needed to be for their goals. This tracks your water. Any of those experiments that you're doing, like I'm not going to drink for a week or do dairy. Does my inflammation go down? Does the weight loss, is my weight loss still on track if I wanted to lose weight? Sugar, if I don't have sugar, do I no longer have migraines this week? Tracks your exercise, any self-care so that you can track it back, any feelings, emotions. And then over here, you can kind of give yourself a grade for the day, whether it's A, B, C, D, or F. Then I always have a spot here for a focused word. For instance, if it's strength for the week or perseverance for the week, or if you want to remind yourself 5K coming up on January 1. So let's go to the girls. Hey, Rita, have you at all thought about this document, used this document since we were together in August? What are your share?
I have used it off and on, to be honest with you. To say that I strictly did it like for 1 week straight, no. But the times that I did document it, I would honestly say maybe 2 or 3 times a week I would document. Yep. But the thing I've noticed is always it's that sleep factor, and it's not necessarily hit me Wednesdays again. But I also know, looking back, not drinking enough water, not getting enough exercise now. And of course that's all affecting my sleep. So
what about your protein over here? Because that was one of the things you learned too. Did you?
That's still an ongoing struggle. I mean, I've come pretty close to it. And being the habitual eater that I am, I was on those protein oatmeal bowls for a while. Then I'm like, done. Now what? So that's where I go astray, because I'm like, I get overwhelmed. I'm looking for different protein sources or different healthier fats, or so that's kind of where I'm like, my mind just and I'm like, okay, I'm going to give it a rest. And then before I know it, a week's gone by and I haven't done anything. Logging, I'm not drinking the water, no exercise. Again, the sleep is off. So yeah, it's
amazing.
It's an ongoing thing, but these have helped me though.
Good. Remember that part of it is we'll fall back into our habits, and sometimes our story is that we're doing a lot better than we are, or we're doing a lot worse than we are, and so if you can get back on track and take a peek at this, and then the connection If you're not sleeping well, is it because you're dehydrated, or is it because you're low on protein, or is it because you haven't had no self-care, you haven't taken a walk? So that connection of looking at several days in a row can be really helpful.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts, Faith?
I did use this for quite a while, and it was a really useful tool because I realised I was becoming quite a habitual eater, and I was eating sort of the same sort of breakfast in the morning. So I needed to almost like change it up what I was having. So I sort of went back through all of my logs to see what other things I was having for breakfast, and it just gave me some other ideas. But sort of I think otherwise I would have just kept eating the same thing every single day, and then there's a risk of getting bored with it. But I sort of previously I wouldn't have thought I was a habitual eater.
Yeah, you're both more of habitual eaters, and then you're doing great. Habitual eaters of the passionate and emotional eaters can be the most successful in terms of maintaining, right? But they also can get in a lot of trouble because it works until it doesn't. And when habitual eaters get sick of their food, they pretty much are like, so I don't want my Power Bowl for breakfast, so I'm not going to eat breakfast. They just go, eh. So that's good for you both as habitual type personalities, because it usually rolls into other areas, to just try to do that log every once in a while, and just get a grip on seeing kind of the real deal, right, of where you are. Let's take a look at one of the next documents that we use all the time, and that's the 168 wellness hours, because guess what, you guys? You do not know where you're spending your hours until you know where you're spending your hours. And it's best to track those, right, Rita, and to be really honest.
Yes.
And I think what gets away from all of us, and me too, is the TV hours, the rest hours, the Candy Crush hours, or whatever that is, even the TikTok hours. Hey, but those things, the hours get away from us, and we tend to use excuses with them, such as I'm relaxing, I had a hard day, I'm tired. And then all of a sudden it's a week's worth of watching 5 hours of TV at night when we could have been preparing our salads or something. So the document that we use is called 168 hours. And these gals filled this in again for this post, for this show, for the 6-month reunion. And I've got it broken down into just different categories for your life, which of course you can always change. That might make more sense for you. And they document out of a 24-hour period for each day where they're approximately, spending those hours. Why is it important? Because if you come up with a goal and you don't know where you're already spending your hours, you won't know where to take some of those hours from to meet that goal. And this makes it very clear if you see that you're watching TV 5 hours a day, to go, you know what, I'm going to make a conscious shift to use that 1 hour for blank. So what were your thoughts when you filled this out, Faith, this last time on for the show?
I've noticed that I was spending more time on social media, and some of my exercise is dropped off. I was aware that I wasn't exercising as much, but I realised how much more I was spending time on social media. So it's good.
It catches up, I'll tell you. What about you, Rita? Did this surprise you at all?
It did. And I have to admit, I went back to look at the previous ones that I've completed, and I was kind of like telling myself, what happened? What am I, because, I was very vigilant about fixing my meals for the next day. So like after dinner, clean the dishes, then I would do my meal prep. And after that, it was like, I've noticed that after dishes and everything's cleaned up, it's like, I started doing something else, like cleaning a different room in the house so that I'm not spending all weekend cleaning house. And I thought, well, maybe that kind of counts as exercise, right? Because it's nonstop. But but because of me, the way I look at it,
we've never had to clean the house before,
exactly.
So we've got a new goal.
I thought if I'm doing it like Speedy Gonzalez, doing it fast, I'm burning calories here. But no, it really made me realize how I've shifted on the use of my time. And I'm like, I know I can make better use of my time. I need to figure out where to squeeze in, even if it's that half an hour of exercise in the morning or after work. Even though I've been trying better to do my little exercise snacks during work throughout the day, but I mean, it was an eye opener. It is an eye opener, and I know I have some work to do on that too.
We all do. We just don't know where we spend time. And the justification of where we spend time is just like, it blows my mind. Of course, we are all excuse mongers. We can make up so many different things. But that's one of the things that I think that we make up our excuses the most, is where we spend our time. And we also have a document after that is the wellness clock, kind of the concept of the wellness clock, which coincides with chronotype that I teach with Dr. Michael Bruce's studying on the 4 animals. So we've got dolphin, bear, lion, and wolf. And that there are kind of 4 types of categories that do different things at different times of day based on when their melatonin hits their body and when their cortisol kicks it up, and just where they naturally find their best time of day to do their best things. And that's really helpful to not go just where do I spend my time, but when am I doing these things? And I know with you, Faith, one of the things that we realize with you as a dolphin is that most dolphins just need to kind of do what they need to do when they feel their best, because they're kind of that chronotype that changes so much if you think about a dolphin in the ocean. But the thing to be cautious of are the excuses that, it's hard to embed a habit sometimes if you're like, work out in the morning a little bit. Oh, and next week's workout at night a little bit. So what are your thoughts when you think of wellness clock and you think of, since we left the show in August, again, the last several months, have you shifted and played around with what feels best, what time of day, whether it's exercise, sleep, planning your food, taking a break, painting?
I find that most of the things have shifted to the evening time because that's when I've generally got more energy. But in some ways, it's also that's because it's easier. It's almost like an excuse. I'll sort of put it off till later and then have a blast and work through the things. So then I'm wasting time in the morning, and I could be getting things done. Because it's sort of that time when you first wake up and you're not really awake, and you think, I'll do it later. I'll do it later, and it's just excuses.
It's so funny. I had a client this week that I meet with, and she's a bear, right? And she likes to get up in her morning. Morning is this, as you know, Rita, you're also a bear in this category. And she's like, loves her mornings, and she likes to get up and just, get her things done. And so she gets up at 4:30 and she gets first one to work, 6 or 6:30. Well, she decided, I think I'm going to go into work a little bit later, like everybody else does. Well, she started to notice that she's just adding an hour or two of not doing shit in the morning, right? Having her coffee, reading. So her time went from like an hour and a half of having breakfast and coffee and reading a book to like 2.5 hours. So it makes sense with you, Faith, when you say kind of put it off to the evening. If you're putting it off to the evening, right, does that mean you're going to bed later and, that type of stuff? So Faith, Rita, what about you with your wellness clock? Anything you've shifted?
Here recently, I'm kind of like this client you were just talking about. They ended up changing my hours to where I'm going out in at 7 and I'm off at 4. So I get off and there's still daylight. Yes. But I also noticed that I haven't shifted my nightly routine to adjust for getting to bed earlier. Doing my nightly routine, starting early so that I can be in bed earlier so that I have time in the morning to take my time. Because honestly, since this has happened, I feel like I'm jumping out of bed, washing up, getting dressed, and I'm flying out the door. And if I don't have my coffee, I'll fix it at work. And that's been breakfast. That holds me over till like mid-morning when I'll have a piece of fruit, almonds, or something like that. So it's still a process, and I'm really trying to, again, reviewing my clocks. And really not trying to let this whole time change, because I'm getting up and of course it's dark. And the first thing I'm thinking, it's too early to get up until I absolutely have to. And then, like I said, I find myself in a rush to go out the door. So again, this is, I'm still kind of playing with adjusting my nightly routine, making sure I'm getting to bed early, trying to figure out, I've been coming home since I'm off at 4 now. I've been coming home. I can at least fit in a half an hour of exercise somewhere in there before it starts getting dark. So that I'm thankful for, but it's still a work in progress.
Well, and with seasonal affect disorder too, right? And then the time clock plays with us. You know, it goes back in the fall, and everybody goes, "Oh, this is great. You know, we can go ahead and hunker down in the evening more," which can lend itself to more seasonal affect disorder, right? Because especially if you're not a morning person, because you're not going to go, "Oh my God, I'm so excited! The sun's up at 5:30 a.m." Yeah, right. You still want to get up at that normal time, and then the sun is buttoned down in the evening, and so it can really kind of add up. So just as a reminder to you guys and anybody listening, you really just do want to kind of track when you feel your best to do the tough stuff. And when you're not feeling so good, do some of those things that don't require a lot of detail work. Maybe that is the time that you do some self-care or some stretching or some painting or some journaling. But look at those time frames and start to really know yourself, instead of, you would never want to work out first thing in the morning if you're not, a morning person. You're setting yourself up for failure. If you hate mornings and consistently for 40 years, you've gotten up at 7:30 and you think you're going to join the gym and be there at all the 6 a.m. classes, you're really setting yourself up for failure. You're hitting the ground with your head. Okay. Family, wellness, history, and habits. All right, those 4 categories that we went through: the nutrition, the exercise, the social environment, and then the mindset. And the reason we kind of go back so we can go forward is exactly why I always use the concept of kind of being in a library or writing a book or reading a book or writing a movie or reading a movie, is it's often scripted from our past. There are a lot of habits we have embedded that now have become whatever book on the shelf is your history. What is Rita's history in her family with exercise? Her history when she was growing up with her family nutrition, or the social environment, or the words that were said positive or negative from her PE coach or her family members or whatever. So we went back and we dialed those all in. Some of them were very emotional, are often very emotional for people. Now we've had a few months apart. And so as you think about those habits, those old habits, the ones that you've struggled with rewiring, and the ones that you have been successful. So I don't know, did you bring your notes with you? Hopefully, girls, I forgot to remind you. Did you bring at least your thought process on, let's talk about first, if we go back to these habits, regardless of whether it's exercise, nutrition, social environment, or mindset, wherever it is, which ones, what are maybe 5 things you could share of habits that you're still struggling with rewiring? Who wants to go first? There's such a big cast. Which of you want to go ahead, Faith? Which ones are you looking? You've got some history, right? And what are the ones you're struggling with rewiring?
I think it's planning it in general. I can plan out things that I need to do, but almost I can forget to plan in a balanced approach. So I'm not planning in self-care. I can say, okay, I've got my goal this week. I want to do, say, some painting for 2 hours. So then I'll become so hyper-focused that I'm not planning in the rest of the things that I need to do. So it's almost sort of having that balanced approach. Socially, also, I'm still quite naturally reclusive. So it's not sort of something I naturally think, I'll go out and meet with people. So that's sort of something that I still need to work on. Is building relationships and sort of reaching out to people and just calling somebody on the phone, or it's not something I'd naturally think of doing. Self-care as well, just self-care in general, is something I'm really struggle with. It's sort of something, it's not that I don't enjoy massages or like having time to myself, it's not something I'm naturally planning time for though. Not overloading myself. I think sometimes I can very high goals, so then I can set the 6-7 things, but it's not always realistic to do that many things in a week. So then I can sort of overload myself because I've got X, Y, and Z, and it's all going around your head. How am I going to fit all of this in? But if I sort of came back to the planning and sort of set it out at the beginning of the week, I'd probably have more time, or realise actually I don't have time to do this. Perfect. And also eating sort of consistently. When I get overloaded, then I'm not eating consistently. So then I've got so much on that I can sometimes skip breakfast, or I can skip an evening meal because I've just got too much to do.
Absolutely.
Or I'm feeling overwhelmed, stressed, so I'm not feeling hungry. So that's probably.
Those are great. So hang just tight just a quick second here, Rita. So with those, Faith, when you look at just say the 5 or whatever you just shared, and you look at your family history and habits, you should be able to dissect a little bit of like, where did I see maybe somebody who influenced me that wasn't a good planner? Or where did I kind of pick up along the way that I'm a big goal setter, and why did I do that? And so it's a work in progress. Oh my Lord. Rita, do you have a few that you're struggling rewiring?
You know, it is so weird because I mean, I'm like right there with Faith. It's the poor planning. I think I had shared something on our Facebook page that, I mean, I'm not going out. I'm still not getting out there and socializing with people, and people that I have reached out to, they're very hesitant on, you know, just because of this whole COVID thing. So, you know, and I also, because, you know, I am around my elderly parents and I want to keep them safe. I'm around my granddaughter and I want to keep her safe. So I kind of feel like I've turned into a hermit because I'm like, go to work, come back. If I place an order for groceries, go to the store, pick them up, come home. Um, Another area is like the diversity of exercise, because again, I have it in my mindset that if I don't go to the gym, and right now I don't have a membership, but if I don't go to the gym and I'm not sweating my ass off when I leave, I didn't do anything. So when I come home, and even doing, you know, the house cleaning, I'm like, if I'm not sweating, or, you know, if I don't feel sore or anything, like next morning, I feel like I didn't do anything. So, and then like Faith, it's you know, the eating, you know, I was doing the intermittent fasting, and I'm still trying to do that, but I'm like, if I'm not hungry, I'm not eating anything. I'm sipping water. But and I have caught myself where I kind of get a little hangry because I'm like, oh yeah, when's the last time I ate? Oh yeah, I didn't have breakfast. I didn't have mid-morning snack. Well, it's about lunchtime. I need to eat something. So that continues to be a struggle. But I think all of these things are not so much family habits. It's been my adult habits that I've learned, you know,
Right.
and that's where I'm I'm kind of falling short on. But I recognize this, and I look back on notes. I'm like, okay, this is when I was feeling really good. This is, you know, what was going on in life that I was in alignment. Everything was falling into place perfectly. So
Perfectly. A little tip is like, hey, just in this conversation, guess what? I can tell you, we're more alike than not, meaning that the population does struggle with planning, does
yeah,
struggle with looking ahead and looking at events and shit that might happen. You know, we're all going to have a flat tire at some point in time. We're all
yeah.
going to forget to get our groceries. We're all going to have a guest show up at some time. So we are more alike than not. So both of you to struggle a little bit with planning, to struggle with exercise and diversity. We talked in the season about, we never really think about fitness as fun anymore. You actually burn calories when you're having fun. It doesn't need to be. We learned that, I believe, really strongly in the last few years with COVID. To answer that point, is that we did learn that if we can't go to the gym, wow, there is YouTube. You know, if we can't go to the gym, I can get a hula hoop. And so I would remind you to maybe to think about, take a little pressure off yourself, that diversity, like you're in charge. You know, you can do all those fun things. Another thing to think about is protein water, Rita, is you might do a good job just starting off in the morning with like some Premier protein water or whatever one that you would like, 15 grams or more. Watch any artificial sweeteners or something. But for many people, just drinking that water first thing in the morning and getting a good kickoff for the day versus something in the tummy to churn. The Lord is shining through on you, Rita, with that sunlight.
Sorry, girls.
She's like,
I know. I'm like, I gotta keep moving.
pretty soon she'll be like, hello.
Some stripes going across my face.
Yes, she's Wonder Woman's new mask. All right, so let's go back to the family history and habits, or like you said, some of them may be your adult history and habits, on the ones that you feel like you're doing pretty good on embedding. So let's go back to you, Faith, and share with us, 3 to 5, whatever you'd like, on some habits that you feel like you're doing pretty well.
The first one is overthinking. I think that when anybody who's watched the show before, and I was overthinking everything. And I think I learned a lot while I was doing it, because I've had a lot more awareness. I'm not doing it to the level I was before, which has been sort of really sort of great to just to sort of rewire that and not sort of spin so much on thoughts and feelings and just get caught up in a loop of what I'm thinking.
If we hover right there, Faith, what would you say is the biggest thing that you learned or embedded to do that less? What would you say has helped you over time to get out of your head a little more?
Some of it's been sort of self-awareness. Some of it's been sort of coping strategies on what to do in those moments. So whether it's doing something different, whether it's putting music on, and it's been how to change that state rather than get stuck in it.
Perfect. Perfect. Good job. Okay, what else do you have?
Not being as reactional. I think before, because I was being so emotional, a lot of the time, if sort of somebody says something and you're feeling irritable, you can react in a way that doesn't always match the situation. Sometimes you need to sort of breathe and take that step back rather than sort of
so good.
say something.
Why are you overreacting? I just cut your sandwich in half, not 3 pieces. That's good. Okay, what else? Good job.
Previously, I didn't exercise at all. I actually hated exercise, and sort of one point when you said we had to walk, and it was like, I don't like walking, and it was.
Oh God, that's right. I forgot that. I actually remember a post where you said, I swear you said like sweat, like, am I supposed to be sweating? And I'm like, you mean a lot or at all? But you were so frustrated about just walking. You're like, what to do for a while? And that's right. Good job. And exercise is really part of your life now. That's amazing. Okay. Give one more.
The big one recently is about finishing goals. Previously, I never finished goals. It's sort of I always became short. It's been sort of realising why I was doing that, and actually sort of when I finish goals, how good it feels to finish things, rather than everything just stacking up and never actually accomplishing anything. So that's been sort of a big thing.
Ah, Rita, what are a couple of your habits that you've kept embedded for a while that you're proud of?
Well, a couple of them, I know about the food and the nutrition part of it. So when that piece is working good, I know fruits, vegetables, working the protein, the healthier carbs. So, that's all been embedded in me. But again, once, I think the sleep factor, when that affects me and I'm not getting enough sleep, I'm not getting enough rest, I'm rushing through the door out to get to work. I have failed to prepare my stuff ahead of time. So I end up defaulting back to, but when life is good, that's one piece that has embedded that I had overall improved on. And I know that because I felt better, I was eating better, I was exercising, I was getting the water in, I was getting the sleep in. At that time, I'm like, life is good. So even though it's still a work in progress, it's embedded in me. I know the healthy choices versus unhealthy. And the other thing, and maybe it's not such a good thing, but I just find when I'm busy, when I have stuff like a schedule to follow and I'm following it, I don't have the idle time to think about or make excuses like, oh, I can't go do this because of this, or I have this to do because of this, or I'm not tempted right now to come home and cuddle up on the couch and watch damn Hallmark movies, man. So I know. So
I've watched like 200 of them in the last 2 years. I get it. I think part of it is the predictability of it. I'll be in just that certain mood where I'm like, I want to know that there's going to be a gingerbread house contest. And I want to know there's going to be a tree farm and someone's going to end up together. Like, I just want to know the predictability of staring. I swear.
All these fun activities these small towns have. I'm like, oh, and then I'm like, wait, we're in COVID. You can't be out there really. Yeah.
I know. It's snowing and they have mountains all around. Like it's the first time. Oh, it's snowing. We digress. Okay. So give me one more that you feel like you've done pretty well, even if you've been off track a little bit in the last few months. I know awareness, knowledge, and those types of things, but Can you think of anything else that you really embedded that you are proud of?
I would say the self-care, the whole self-care, self-love thing, because that, as you girls know, that was a struggle to begin, because I'm like, what? You know, when you said you need to write a love letter to yourself, what is that? What do you mean? I don't get it. I don't understand. So even though I'm not doing it, I mean, I'll do like a self-care act at, honestly, like right now, maybe once or twice a week, but it's just little things like foot soak, or, you know, put a mask on my face for 5 minutes or so, you know, just little things. But in the process of doing those things, I mean, it's kind of like I'm able to refresh. I feel better. I'm like, okay, now to finish doing what I need to get done. So that, I mean, I feel like I've come a long way with those.
That is a really long way. Good job, Capricorn. Just saying.
You know what I mean.
You know, so think about self-care. You guys, we forget about this. So you can go online, get some really cool memes, some really good posters you can post that will give you some reminders. There's actually a really cool one out there with like 50 or 52 that you can even simplify and just do one of those a week. I mean, that would be a year, right? But they're so doable. You could do a few a week. As simple as, you know, buying yourself some flowers, or picking flowers from outside when it's decent and bringing them inside. It could be something like, you know, phoning that friend that is positive, is self-care. It's reframing how we think about it. What I would like you guys to think about is the feel part of it is what we're seeking. The feel calm, the feel loved, the feel relaxed, the feel filled back up. So whatever those things are for any of you, with no judgment, that's what we're trying to increase and spend more time doing. If we stay kind of along this same theme and we think about ahas, right? I'd ask you guys to kind of take a look over the last 6 months we've been together, and some ahas are ahas we always have, right? But they just are like serious. They kind of those lessons that just keep popping up, you know, like, oh my God, oh my God. But some ahas are really, they can seem simple, but they're really, really, you know, big. Faith, can you share with us any ahas that were just like kind of whoa for you?
I think quite recently it's been that I'm not sort of, I think that a lot of my life I've almost been trying to prove something. And it's like I'm not a little kid anymore, and I don't need to sort of prove myself to anybody. That's been sort of quite a big aha that's that I've sort of become aware of recently. The second one is that it's okay to slow down. I think so. I'm very used to sort of keeping myself very busy, and it's okay to give myself permission to actually do things a little bit slower. And to actually, well, I'm going to have a slower week. I am going to put my feet up. I'm going to watch some movies. I don't have to almost like plans or feel like I'm doing something all the time. So that's been a really big. Sort of baby steps. Baby steps are sort of like that's been sort of all the way through. It is for me. I've got to take baby steps with everything. I can't sort of dive in. I've got to sort of take things slow and steady. That's been really.
It's the crawl, walk, run that we talk about. We'll go over here in a little bit. Is like, you know, we never tell our little toddlers like, oh, I don't know why you're learning those first few steps. Those are worthless. They'll never get you anywhere. We know that that's a cumulative build of their life, and it's going to be useful. Eventually that you'll crawl, eventually that you'll run. And that's the way it is with habits. So yeah, woohoo! Aha. Rita, a couple of ahas that are outside your macronutrient awareness.
Honestly, with all of this, one thing that I have caught myself since our last taping is kind of like self-sabotage. You know, I'd have my little pity party moments where I'm like, you know, and then it's like, and maybe that's where I'm pulling out, you know, up Wonder Woman. And I'm like, you know what? You're a grown ass woman. You are responsible for yourself. You know, you are in control of your life. You can't let what, you know, this person's doing, or, you know, whether it's at work or home, family, anything like that, you can't let them dictate how you feel. You're giving control to them. And it's like, so I'm like, I am in control. I can do whatever I want, good or bad, you know. But I found myself that it was kind of like a self-sabotage, like you know, daylight savings time. I'm tired. I'm going to go home. I don't have to exercise because, you know, I'm just tired. The sun's gone. I've lost my motivation, that type of stuff. And I really can't, I caught myself because I'm like, here in Colorado, we do have quite a bit of sunny skies, even through the winter months. Maybe cold out there, but we have a lot of sunshine. So that's kind of where I've had my biggest ahas, is like, at what point? And that's where the logs and everything comes into place. Like, where did I fall off? How was I feeling? What made me feel that way? So that's kind of where I pull myself up, and I kind of get, again, back on track with the water, the eating right, the exercising, a little bit of self-care in between all that. So, yes, but that was a big one.
Yeah, to clarify, actually, both you said two really good things just now, is that, the self-awareness is one thing that does take some time over time, but all of us are so smart now, right? We have all this knowledge of things we've read, much more so than 40, 50 years ago. We have access to studies. We have access to knowing certain foods work and certain exercise works and it helps mindset. I mean, there's just so much data now. And that's why I don't say anymore that knowledge is everything, because it's not. It still doesn't get our ass up off the couch, people. I mean, it just doesn't. But a couple of things that you said that I love is when you think about seasonal affect disorder or seasonal things that are going to happen, daylight savings time is going to happen. Holidays are going to happen. New Year's is going to happen. Birthdays are going to happen. So on those consistencies, we can't use those. We have the knowledge that those are going to happen and we can't use them as excuses. So how do we prepare? And like you say, not self-sabotage during certain times of years, certain times of the year, certain things. The other thing that you said that I love is the second part of that is, how it feels. There are so many clients that I work with that never just keep trying long enough to know how it feels to exercise, how they feel better, how to sleep better so they know how they feel, how to eat better so they know how they feel. Once you can get to that place where you know how it feels to be healthier, that's easier to chase than the task list. It's easier to chase than going, I got to exercise today. No, you want to feel great because you went outside and got some vitamin D and went for a walk, and don't beat your goddamn ass up when you go to bed that you wish yet one more day. So I beat that up a lot, but I liked it.
Well, and the big thing I noticed too is that for me, I don't know about you ladies, but it's like time is going by so fast. It's like before I know it, we're back at Monday. And that's where my poor planning is, because I'm like, what happened to the weekend? I had planned on doing this, meal planning, whatnot.
Right.
I'm back to Monday. I'm like, what just happened with the weekend? And then before I know it, we're Friday again. I'm like, okay, I've got time to start again. It's just, for me, it's just a vicious circle.
I get it, girlfriend. We used to always say, time passes so fast. But, I had somebody, I can't even remember who it was the other day. I kind of lost my mind a little bit. They're like, with COVID. I'm like, February's 2 years. 2 years. I mean, I get the COVID thing and I get it spun us, but for Christ's sake, we've had the quarantine 19 pounds on our ass for 2 years. And I know we learned a lot from it, but that can no longer be like the reason we're waiting for anything. There are going to be more things along the way. God, we learned so much. Let's go. All right, let's talk about goals, because as you know, when we got together in June, we said, hey, what are your 3-month goals when we get done this, or 10-week goals when we get done the first, taping of season 2? And then, hey, what are going to be your 6-month goals? And we used a big document called the SAMS 10, Spark plus action plus motivation equals success. 10 represents the 10 rules. And we chatted about all sorts of data, questions that you could answer these, kind of find out more about yourself so that we would be able to set you up for success for your goals. So I'm going to share that document, kind of give everybody a refresher of what the document looked like. And when we were last together, I said, hey, what are your goals for December? No judgment, right? And potentially we are here in December going, I learned a little bit more about this, and this, and I might want to rewire this. Or, hey, you might have just nailed the hell out of it. I mean, who knows, right? Let's just chat about it. So this is what I call the SAMS 10. And these are the rules. This is what these gals, and Troy, who's not with us, turd, So when we came out of the gate, there's just some tests that I want everybody to figure out of themselves, because it does make a difference on how you approach habits, how you live your life. That's my belief. This is how I coach everybody. I have them figure out their love languages, whether they're left or right brain, what their chronotype is. You can go back to any of our previous shows. I've got season 1, season 2 on Facebook. The universe shut down my YouTube channel, so I'm rebuilding that still. So you'll have to catch them all on Facebook. We also look at learning styles, and they take a peek at this, and then we go through this process, which takes a long time. So don't think that these guys did this overnight. We go through these steps to figure out who they are, and then we go and we set a goal. And then we go back up to the top. We check it out again, and then we check it out again to make sure it's aligned for them, not anyone else. No damn cookie cutters allowed in my house. So when we look at this first step of whether you crawl or whether you walk or whether you run, again, no judgment, but somebody might be a crawler when it comes to a habit, which just means it might take a little longer. Somebody might just get up and go, I got this. I know my habits. I know what I need, and I'm walking already. Somebody might take off as a runner and just say, let's go. Runners can get in a little bit of trouble because sometimes they don't have everything they need to hit the ground running, and some of the runners can come up shy. Then we go into their attitude. Are they passionate, emotional, or habitual? Whether it's their eating or whether it's their exercise. If they're super passionate, they can kind of hyper focus on foods, hyper focus on their exercise plan. Some of these things can get you into trouble, right? If you're too crazy about some particular thing, such as, I always use running a marathon. You might forget about other areas of your life. And this is important when it's setting a goal, to learn how to dial some of this stuff back. We love this, ladies. Teacher's pet, the pleaser of the toddler. I know, Faith, we've had some conversations, and her little toddler tantrum kicked up a little bit. We had to spank her ass and send her back into the room. Little Bertha. I named her, don't know why. I picked Bertha. But anyway, when you're a teacher's pet, what does that mean? You want to be an A student, a hoop jumper. You get that gold star and you want to do things perfectly. And sometimes you need to back off and realize that getting a C is going to get you there. The pleaser does everything for everybody else. Everybody else is first. That's often my nurses, my doctors, my service industries. And then we have the toddler, who is a toddler. I mean, most of the time, when you're a toddler, you're going to struggle reaching your goals. You're fighting yourself. You're not fighting me, you're fighting yourself. But honestly, majority of us are a percent of all of those. So that's an important piece they figured out. Then as we're starting to design their goal, I do not know. Okay, let me just see. As they're starting to design their goal, we've got to make sure that is the goal desire? Do they have a desire for the goal? If not, they got to go back up to the top. Is the goal attainable, doable? Got to go back up to the top. Do they have the right resources? Even the shoes, the money, the trainer, any of the gadgets to reach a goal? If not, we got to go back up to the top and redesign the goal. What about their accountability steps? All these things. You can catch them in the previous shows. These guys worked on all of this. Do we go public? Do we track our body composition? Do we log our foods? Do we do a fitness tracker such as a Fitbit? Do we need calendars, alarms, grids, spreadsheets, video diaries? All those things, getting there. Rewards and unrewards. If I set myself up, if I do this, then I get this. Or if I don't do this, then I can't do this. A lot of people do really well with setting up goals with rewards and unrewards. And then we want to make sure you're really clear. Go back up to the top. Go back up to the top. This is whether you're painting your kitchen or whether you're running a marathon. You go through this process. Then you make a decision. So gals, when we finished the show, I said, what is your 6-month reunion kind of goals? Faith, you had a couple. Are you willing to share like what they were and how you did, kind of what your journey was through that?
Yeah, I've got a couple of goals. One of them was I'd already lost quite a bit of weight, but I'd got sort of a sort of almost like a target figure that I wanted to get to. So I'd sort of worked out it was about 18 pounds that I needed to lose to get there. And also I was working on getting my spare room transformed into an office, so that I could have more of a work-life balance at home.
There she is, Rita. Her spare room became her office.
I've been watching that, and you did a fantastic job. It looks great, Faith. I'm like, oh my gosh, you did it. You did it.
I'm so excited, you guys, for this. Listen, if you do not know what we're talking about, just real quick, I want to interrupt, right? When Faith set this goal, I'm just going to say it like it is. When Faith set this goal and we went through the Sam's 10 that you guys just went through, we learned again of what her love language was, how she attacked goals, all those things. And you guys know with the Wellness GPS, all of you could kind of be labeled as coming out of the goal with pretty lofty goals or many goals at the same time, which can set you, I mean, come on, that doesn't always work, right? And so it's dumb it down and realizing, like you said, Rita, whoa, I do have some control. I can change this bitch. I can change what I'm going to do, the time frame I'm going to do it or whatever. But I have watched Faith, and that room, when it started, we are talking about in 3 months, a renovation of a room that was filled with things down to the flooring, to the radiator, to the walls, I am so impressed that you used that document to you really, really took it step by step. Sorry, I just got excited.
But rightfully so. I mean, she did an outstanding job. I mean, it looks awesome. So kudos, Faith. Way to go. Because, man, I love that space now. I'm like, wow. You see the before and then you see the after. It's like total different room.
Such a transformation. Because it's been something, 4 years since I've been in this house that I've wanted this room to be a spare room. I've lived with that for so long. When I finally sort of got it sorted and I got this space I could just come into and disconnect from the rest of the house and work in here, that really was a transformation for me.
One thing that she did,
I realised until I got to almost the end.
I hear what you're saying. When you get close towards the end of that goal and you see it coming to an end, right? A few of us might go, I'm getting to the end of a goal and we forget to go, okay, now what? I got to set a new one. But a lot of people getting towards the end of the goal will push it out. They're like, oh, I've done a really good job. And so the timeline might become January or February or whatever. But Rita made a good point, you guys. When I talked about the Sam's 10, I talked about accountability. Faith went public. She posted pictures on her public social media that said, look at this room when I started. Now I'm going to tell you how I'm going along the way, which is a huge risk, right? Because what if you damn straight didn't want to do it anymore? You're setting people up to do a couple of things, to go, really? Or here we go again, or to disappoint yourself. Proud of you. Good job. What else do you want to
share? I think throughout the process, when I first started, it was easier because I sort of set up, I planned it out, so I knew what I needed to do, so that things happened with enough time so that I could get everything plastered and painted. But then once I got close to the end, when I was painting, I didn't realise how much my toddler was going to come out. And it was like, I don't like painting. I don't want to paint. And I was there painting and I was like slapping it on the walls and I was getting so frustrated. And I didn't realise how much my toddler was going to come out at that time and just fight me throughout the process. And it was like all the way through, sort of like all the way to the end, there was this toddler and he was just fighting me. And it was because it's almost like I'd had this goal for so long that it was coming to an end. So then I had to let it go to move on to something else. And I was fighting that process. And that was sort of a really big awareness for me. And sort of how often I've got goals.
I was just thinking, when it comes to family history and habits, or, Faith's history and habits, when it comes to goals, and you look back now, your toddler isn't brand new. She wasn't just born. And so when you look back at those goals and how a goal can either elongate itself or how you can have the kind of the tantrums that put it off, there are lots of, it's more normal than not for people to just go, oh, it was so cumbersome, or oh, so many things got in the way, or oh, I've been too busy, or oh, I ran out of money. And then there's just that burden and label that we give ourselves where we say, I'm not a finisher. I'm not a finisher. So if you're a finisher and you have history, you know, when you set a health and wellness goal, I am going to lose 10 pounds. I am going to sleep 8 hours. But when you're not a finisher over a couple of decades, as an example, not you, but then you're not a finisher. Like, what history do you have that you would lose 10 pounds if you've had a goal to paint your house for 6 years and chop the wood for, 7 months, and now it's summer? Rita, what about you with your goals?
One that I know that I had set for this 6-month goal was to have better improvement in my finances. So what I initially did was I opened up a separate checking account, and I was putting money from my check in there, kind of building like what I call an emergency fund. So things, and I had posted on there, I believe I had a couple appliances that, broke down. So I'm like, well, at least the money's there to replace when I need to. But also my thing was paying down debt, as much as I can, while still trying to build up that savings account for those emergency type situations. Because, in a year, and we'll discuss this later, I'm sure, I do have some home improvement goals that I want to set, but I want to make sure I have the finances there to do it. So, this is it's an ongoing thing, but I can say at least the funds are there for those appliance repairs that I need to do.
Right. And that's the thinking ahead. That's not a pessimistic move. That's not bringing on something that, that's a life event that we know that's gonna happen. A lot of people do that with vacations. Like, I want to go on a family vacation. And they don't set the goal to have a money jar or an account like you did. And then all of a sudden the kids are 18 years old and they don't want to go on a vacation with you, but you wanted to go on a vacation with them when they were 10. But it's that kind of planning ahead. Plan B.
Well, and the thing is, I had bought that Financial Peace University that Dave Ramsey, like 5, 6, 7 years ago.
Yeah.
So that kind of fell wayside. And then while I'm, going through my stuff, organizing, throwing stuff out, I'm like, I do have it. I paid good money for this. So that's kind of where I've been trying to get back on track with that, utilizing all the materials and his method to get to where I'm wanting to get to. So kind of dusted those books off and the methods, and that's what I'm working on right now as well. I continue to work on that.
Okay, so why don't we circle back around while I bring this up? And Faith, what are your thoughts about your 1-year goal? Have you given some thought, knowing the documents that you've learned, to make sure that they're realistic and clear? What are your thoughts for 1 year?
Originally I wanted to get a new car, but I've had sort of, as life goes, I've had some issues with my car, so that I've had to sort of pull that forward. So I thought, actually, what else do I want to do? And one of the big things that I've been sort of putting off, I've got the materials for, is doing my bedroom. So I want to make it into a space that I want to be in. I want to sort of decorate it so like quite French chic, and just transform it in the same way I've done in the office.
It's awesome. And you've learned so much about, a quote unquote renovation phase, right? So it's like the good thing is when we set these goals kind of that are similar, like the last goal, whether it's a weight loss goal or whatever, when they're somewhat similar, you've learned a lot along the way. So you'll be able to go back and say, I mastered this, I didn't master this. Or sometimes, like, even with your first goal was like, well, who's going to be the carpenter and who's going to do this and who's going to do this? You're going to be further ahead. That's awesome. Good for you. What are your thoughts, Rita, when you think about your 1-year goal?
I'm kind of like along the lines with Faith. There, like I mentioned, there's some home improvements. I want to redo the flooring in my kitchen, and eventually, and it may not be a year, just depending on the funds, but I want to tear all the carpet out of the house and just replace it with flooring, with like the wood plank floor. It just, to me, it's just cleaner. I hate carpet, but that is my goal. Again, working on the finances. Fortunately, I do have people that can help me do the work, family members that can help me do the work. We just did the flooring in my son's house earlier this year. So I'm like, we all know what we're doing. It's just the materials, having the money to do the materials and the time to do it all. So in 1 year, that's my goal, is to get the flooring redone in my house. And
because one thing I want to just to think about is, you had started off the show, Rita, was saying like, oh my gosh, time passes. That's one thing that we know is going to happen, right? Change is going to happen and time is going to pass. And all of a sudden it's going to be June. It's going to be the 1 year reunion. So as you guys set these goals, I mean, this is just conversation, but as you go off on your own and we communicate back and forth, just really do think about that document and just go, okay, now I said I want to do this and I want to do my bedroom and I want to do this. But really look at, because one of the things on that document is, what are the resources that you're going to use, the funds that, and cushion them and be a little, overzealous and needing to save some things and to get some phone numbers together or whatever, but really make sure, because it's important to me for you to dumb them down and nail them than to keep going big and coming shy, because that, as I said to Faith a little bit, we are not going to allow ourselves to not be finishers, because who cares? It's your goal. If you say that you want to redo your flooring or redo, your bedroom, that's your goal. We're just trying to move forward with that. What I will say to you guys is to make sure with everything that you've learned that you are setting the alarms or calendars or doing anything that you can to keep your full wellness wheel, which I'm going to show the data, rolling down the road. So let's go ahead and look at these gals. Season 2, 6-month reunion. We are here already in December. And so let's look at first, I had talked to you about their wheels, right? So I had talked to you about when we start a program together, I always have them figure out their wheel. Come on, people. And they did their pre-wheel. So this is Faith. She did her pre-wheel in June. She did her end of the taping of the first time together, the second 10 weeks. And now we've got her 6 month. And then I did a summary here. So let me just share conceptually what the goal of this is. So here's your wellness wheel. We've got the 24 spokes in different areas. Again, you guys can go back, look at some previous shows, go onto my website at peggywilliams.com and kind of check out what my concept is with the wheel. But as you can see, she had a little bit of hiccups here. She was doing really, really well. If this is a 10 out here and this is a 0 in here, she was doing well in certain areas and just nailing it. And in other areas, she was a little bit off. And so this is a super bumpy ride. If this wheel was to roll along in her wellness wagon, would she get there? Might have a flat here and there. Yeah. As we ended in August of last year, she certainly was going to be rolling along a little bit faster. She had a chunkity chunk ride over here where she had this part of her wheel, her creativity, her talents, her gifts, some work environment stuff, beliefs and faith, some harmony with work-life play balance that she needed to improve a little bit on. So now she just did her next wheel, which is December. And hey, do hear me that it does not mean that there's this continual improvement in every single spoke of your wagon and it always stays improved. That's not what this document is for. This tool tells you, like, where am I really at right now so I can improve some areas that I might be forgetting about. So as you can see, in Faith's particular instance here, her ride is going to be a lot smoother. Each thing is starting to come up. I made some summaries here of each of the wheels where she's had some great improvements in the last 6 months, where there's some slight areas that she could improve, and then where there's some areas that she is pretty steady kind of rolling along. How did I judge that? How did I make those calls? If there wasn't a big disparity in a full number, a full jump, like a 5 to a 6 or a 7 or 8, if there wasn't a big jump, I kind of considered it steady. Faith, what are some thoughts about your current wheel and how you feel about it?
I think so. When we last finished the show, I was sort of exercising more, and my focus was on different places. And since I've finished my goal, it's had a massive impact on my work-life balance. But there are some things that I've had to dial back a bit. But in a sense, it's a much more balanced approach. Yeah, there are some areas where I need to sort of possibly give a little bit more focus to with self-care, with my sleep and exercise. But I think they're more connected. So that I think so as I start to exercise more, I'll sleep better, and as I start to look at my own self-care, it has an impact on those areas.
Yeah, you started the show when we first started, where you said that, kind of balancing everything is one of the big ahas that you learned, is kind of how important that is. And that would be one of the messages I want to get out there to everyone, is to think about when you have a really aggressive goal, such as you did with renovating that spare room and making it into an office. It does tend to make you kind of hyper focused. Somebody could be an A in that area and then slide to an F. What I want to give you kudos about is you have had some things come up, some injuries, some things that kind of happened with you in regards to affecting your, your exercise and your nutrition, but that you didn't get big, punctures in your wheel that sidetracked you. You have enough that you're keeping on task, that everything is still rolling along. So here is Rita's stuff. All right, so if we look at her wheel right now, I mean, you're rolling along pretty well. You had a big wheel going on there in August. We had some hiccups here on some relationships, kind of getting out, like you said, maybe being a little bit more social, some things like that. And you guys remember, this is your wheel. If we did look at this as a 0 and this is a 10, my exercise might look, all of our, what is Rita's A? It could be going for a walk 7 days a week. That she determined up here was her A, and now she's going 4 days a week, and so she's dialed it back. It is her, she is judging it off of where her history is and her goals are. So I've given her some great improvements in relationships, creativity, talents, gifts, and exercise. And you've got a big thing going on here with steady, 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 steady Eddie. And then there's some areas to improve, micro improvements, not huge stuff. But what I would like to say mostly to you, Rita, with the steady thing, steady is important, because when somebody, say for instance, they want to lose a lot of weight, there is going to be a maintenance period. You are going to hover. It's just somebody can only lose weight for so long before their body goes, hey, let's hover for a while. Hey, let's stall this metabolism. So let's just pretend that was your goal, to lose some weight, right? The point would be, is am I going to get discouraged, or am I going to keep these things rolling along until either you had an injury, you healed, illness, you healed, got a new job? Yeah. Is the most important, healthy, wealthy, and wise thing to do is to keep things rolling, and you've done that. So regardless of whether you reached your goal of blank in 2 seconds, the goal is you're going to reach it, is the point.
Right.
What are your thoughts?
Right. And just because I know my history of, it wasn't even like a walk or run. I mean, I was like a sprinter. As soon as I had new information, and I'd be just like take off, and it worked for a while.
Yeah.
But this program here over these last 6 months has taught me that baby steps, a little goes a long way, because I've caught myself where life happens, and I'm like, to me, it turns my world upside down, and I'm back to like scrambling, like, oh, I got to get back on track. Oh, why bother, fought with that toddler type behavior. But doing these every so often has really helped me see the big picture. Like, okay, yeah, you did have a hiccup here. What was going on this week? The wellness logs kind of helped me reel that in. Like, okay, yeah, you weren't sleeping, you weren't drinking your water, you didn't get out and exercise.
Getting a B is going to get you there. Perfectionism is going to get you there, right? Because it's going to drop to an F, and you're going to have some big.
But this has been a long, hard lesson, so to speak, to learn, because again, I'm so used to, I get excited for something new, a new program or something, and then I take off. I mean, like I said, I'm sprinting. I don't even run, I sprint. So I'm like, I'm going to accomplish this, I'm going to get it done. And then any little hiccup throws me way off. And
bright, shiny light, bright, shiny, my squirrels, oh, yay.
Yep.
All right, let's take a look at you. Good job. I'm very proud of you gals. Let's take a look at your strength. Okay. Pretty much an average of shaving 3.5 minutes off your timed 1 mile. Again, I'm compiling both your data and making kind of an average here. You guys improved your strength by 50 cents, like literally a couple times on certain one of these tests. You guys have improved by like 150%. We're talking like immensely amount of time. One thing I just want to remind you here is that when you do your strength test, because strength is really important, it's not just about weight loss. Strength is really, really important. Flexibility is really, really important. Whenever you do your strength test, just make a little note here. Like for instance, if you're doing your push-ups, and let's just say the first time you did these, you were doing it awesome and you were on the floor and you're like, yay. And then all of a sudden something happens and you're just like, I hurt my Achilles or whatever, and now I'm doing them on the wall. Just make a note so that you can measure your strength over a period of time with the same baseline. All right. And I didn't put total pounds lost. I chose to go with just your average percent because there's 2 of you, but average percent of weight lost for you guys is 10.7%. This one is crazy. 31 inches lost overall.
Wow. Wow.
Saves lives. When we can save lives and get that waist down, it'll save your life. Get that visceral fat off those organs, allow your lungs to breathe, get healthy, blood and oxygen. Whew. BMI, body mass index, that's what the physicians love. Remember, height and weight is all that considers. It doesn't consider body fat, your composition with body fat. So that is, I'm looking at a 24.99 down to 20 is considered healthy. My point is, I just shared here is that you guys had a decrease, without me giving the exact numbers, of 6.8 in your BMI. BMI chunks up in 5, right? So an overweight is 26, 25 to 29.9, and then it goes obese and blah, blah, blah. So I just wanted to share 6.8. Fantastic. Continue to obviously use those baselines and to measure data, because I'm a data freak, and that is seriously, that is where you will be able to get rid of some of your excuses, right? You'll be able to, you'll be able to sometimes give yourself kudos when you feel like you're not doing anything and you see that, the scale has stayed the same, but all of a sudden I've lost an inch in my waist. It'll that can keep you going. The data can keep you going when you're like, oh my gosh, I'm bench pressing 10 more pounds than I was a month ago. That can keep you going. Any thoughts on the data?
I think I mentioned this like early on when we first started, is that seeing these numbers, this is what motivates me when I see them going down and see the improvements. And I'll admit, I've never been big on doing the whole body measurements. Stepping on that scale, I'm like, evil, just evil, right. But right. Seeing this, it does help, and it does motivate me.
It does help. Yeah, absolutely. All right, I'm going to give you guys just a few tips, and then I'm going to have some final thoughts and send you on your way, and we'll be in touch as always. And next June, we'll be doing our 1-year reunion. But coming off of kind of what you said with the data, I'd like to remind you that, we need to go to our physician. And so really do take a look at those lab reports and reduced medications and your improved emotions and how you're doing with relationships. That's all data. So give yourself some credit when your cholesterol bumps down a little bit, and stop judging yourself that you're just walking. Probably making a difference. Sometimes even go back to your journals or the recaps. In you guys' situation, I put recaps on our private Facebook site, but anybody who's listening, if you have a journal, we're coming up on New Year's, and I can't stand New Year's resolutions. I think that it's just a redundancy, and it gives us an excuse as a restart, but it is a new year, and it does give us a chance to do what? Go back and see if we're saying the same things over and over. I want to lose another 10 pounds, lose another 10 pounds, and just see what works and what doesn't work, so that you can start your new year maybe with a focus word, whether the word is strength or diversity or perseverance or dedication, whatever that might be. So go back and look at your journals and see what the consistency is that you can kind of improve. Use the SAMS 10, you guys, those destinations. Remember, we did that. Make sure that your goals are consistent in the way that you design them and that you take your time to do them. Think about what you can do versus what you can't do. Don't focus. If you twist your ankle, don't tell me you can't exercise, right? You can modify. There are a lot of upper body videos that you can do and exercises that you can do. Self-discovery is never going to end. Wellness war is never going to end. The self-discovery is continuous. No matter how well you think you know yourself, it's going to continue. So don't give up and don't think it's going to be mastered. And this war called wellness is going to continue forever because you're going to want to keep improving yourself. Your family history and habits, the one thing that I will say about that, if I work with your family and friends moving forward, you are a part of their family history and habits. So think about that. They're watching you. You are their mentors. If you want to be the most successful moving forward, become a mentor, become a good example, become a leader, join a group. And it doesn't mean that you have to be perfect. It just means that when we try to help others, it's going to be cyclical and come back and help ourselves. Whenever we help us, whenever we help others, it helps us. June will be here before we know it, as I keep saying. If you're not nailing your goals, stop right there. Stop at least monthly and take a look and redesign. Couple more things. What do I want to say? Okay, I think I'll just end it with saying that a couple of things will always happen. Time is going to pass and shit's going to change. And I'm going to chase you and not listen to your excuses. So I guess there's 3 things that'll always happen. Faith, what are your final thoughts as we tie up the 6-month reunion for season 2 of CPRT?
I think personally for me, it was a surprise, some of the results, because I didn't realise sort of how much my strength and everything had improved in different areas. One of the things I've learned is it's better to stay in motion than to completely fall off the bandwagon. Because just by staying in motion, even if you're just doing something small, it's better than just sort of giving up completely. So that's sort of been the biggest thing that I've
take the emotion out of motion, right? Don't just sit there and try to figure out why you should or shouldn't be doing things. 15 seconds is going to put your ass on the couch with a bag of Doritos. You're going to convince yourself in 15 seconds not to do something. Good job. Rita, what about your final thoughts?
Final thoughts. I mean, you really have to make the time and plan for things. You can't, and I've learned this through my own experience, you can't just dive into something without having a plan on how you're going to accomplish it. So all these documents have really helped me out tremendously as far as like, oh yeah, I didn't think about that, or how am I going to do this? How am I going to get there? I didn't think about that. So, and it's an ongoing process. And like you've said many times, wellness does not wait. So it's like, it's up to you as a responsible person. If you want to improve any areas of your life, you got to be the responsible person to make it happen. How to make it happen? Well, it's a step, so many step process, but you got to make the time for it now. Because like you said, time's passing. So, and it's not going to improve on its own. You gotta take the initiative to do what you have to do for yourself. So that's what I'm doing.
And our wellness doesn't stay the same while we think we can wait to get started on it. I'm not being pessimistic here, but right. Most people aren't getting healthier and younger by the minute. There's no Benjamin Button shit going on here.
Right.
So, just because you decide in a year from now that, I'm going to just stop eating sugar so I'm not pre-diabetic, if you wait a year, you're probably going to be diabetic. And the worst thing about it is you're going to have those habits embedded that we're going to have to rewire. So as you're waiting, it isn't just your mind and your motivation you're waiting to catch up. This shit's going to get worse along the way. One last thought I wanted to give to you guys is about stress. And I've chatted a lot about this in this last week, is that, and I've said it many times, but I want to reiterate it to you gals. I want to say that our bodies do not know the difference between stress, right? Your body knows there is a stress, meaning blood pressure is up, body is contorted, not sleeping, not eating. Whether you have the stress of planning a wedding or the stress of losing your house and going through a divorce, all your body knows is that these same things are happening. Intellectually, your body's not sitting in there and processing and going, oh, wow, my neck is sore because I'm getting a divorce, or my neck is sore because I'm planning a wedding. The chances are whatever you do for both those type of stresses, you do. Work a lot, stay up late. So think about how your body deals with stress. The other thing is with physical activity, your body deals with physical activity as a stressor. So if you're doing kickboxing 5 days a week, that is a shit ton of stress to those specific muscles, to your metabolic system, to your immune system, and it needs a break. So you might feel like doing yoga or Pilates or stretching is a waste of time. I have a hard time with that too, but that can fall into self-care, self-love for you. You're dumbing it down. You're decreasing the stress to those muscles and to your physical body. Doesn't mean you're not going to get back to kickboxing. Maybe you dial it back to 2 days a week, but that's stress, bam, to your body. So just think about how your body deals with stress is often the same way. And Rita, I think you were just saying something that pinged me as well, is whatever we do in one area of our life, we do in other areas of our life. If you're disorganized at work, you're disorganized in your refrigerator, right? If you're a procrastinator with your kids saying, I'll go shopping with you next Saturday, you're a procrastinator on going walking. You're not going to sit there and compartmentalize and go, hi, I'm Faith over here. We can't do that consistently unless you have a good role in a Hallmark movie. Cheers. All right, you guys. Well, I'm really proud of you. Pull up your inner beast to get you through these next 6 months. I am always with you. For anybody who is out there listening to Coach Peggy Real Time Transformation docuseries, reach out to me at peggy@allthingswellness.com if you want to email me, or hop on coachpeggyrt.com if you would like to be an upcoming cast member in 2022 for season 3. And don't ghost me, mothers. Or phone dress. All right. I love you guys. I'll talk to you real soon. Good job. Very proud of you. You've been watching Coach Peggy Real Time, a transformation coaching docuseries, and we are so grateful that you come back each week to support the cast, and hopefully you at home are absorbing some of the strategies and tools and improving the quality of life that you have. And maybe you'd like to hop on over to Coach Peggy Real Time, a Facebook group where the cast is sharing some of the experiences they're having, and we'd certainly love to hear about yours. If you would like to be a part of upcoming seasons, or you'd like to be a part of Coach Peggy Real Time groups, which is not public, you're going to find that information at coachpeggyrt.com. We are airing on YouTube. If you'd like to see any of the previous seasons, get on over there, subscribe, like, and we will see you next week. Thanks for following along. And again, make sure you hop on Facebook community and let us know how you're doing. See you next week.